I find it fascinating that each time after I put my signature on the term sheet and I sell the business, very soon after that, I'm full with new ideas and full with inspiration. And I really get so much energy from starting things all over again from scratch.
My guest today is Jan de Jong, a Dutch entrepreneur who moved to Croatia at 22 years old and built multiple businesses from the ground up. He's the co-founder of M Plus Group, one of the largest business service companies in the region. He has completed 2 successful exits, and today he's building Team Adria, connecting international companies with talent across the Adriatic region. He's also been one of the most influential voices behind Croatia's digital nomad and remote work movement. So please enjoy my conversation with Jan de Jong. Jan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I would really like to talk about a lot of these fascinating aspects that came to your life largely because of the move that you made by going abroad when you were really young still. And first question is actually about that. So at 22, a lot of ambitious Dutch entrepreneurs would probably have moved to places like maybe Amsterdam, London, maybe the US, and you moved to Croatia. And I'm really curious, like, what made you take that decision, and what opportunity did you see at that time that most other people didn't see in that sense?
Yeah. So, well, actually, when I was even a little younger than 22, my dream was always to go to America and to live the American dream. I always was fascinated with entrepreneurship. I had a lot of entrepreneurs in my surroundings, so like friends of my parents, but also a lot of my family members. They had their own businesses, some smaller, some bigger. But I always wanted to have my own business, that was for sure. And yeah, of course, when you're very young, the place where you think that you can make it big is, of course, the United States. But as I grew a little bit older, I started to dislike that idea of moving across the ocean. And especially today, in the current situation in the United States, it's not a country
Mhm.
where I would want to do business or would want to live for that matter. But yeah, when I was 17, I started working for a contact center in the Netherlands, in Alphen aan den Rijn. And the owner of that contact center, his name was Mato Bozic, and he had Croatian roots. So he was originally born in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but he was Croat and he moved when he was very young to the Netherlands. And he was, like I said, the founder of that company that I was working for. And I was about to enter my final year at the university in the Netherlands, Hogeschool. So that's for bachelor. I was studying commerce. And during your last year of university, you have to write your final thesis. And I went to Mato with the idea whether he would like it if I would move to Croatia for 1 year, and that I would write my final thesis from Croatia, where I would then ultimately make an effort to expand the Dutch contact center to Croatia.
Yeah.
And Mato liked that idea very much. I mean, we knew each other already for many years. I was managing the contact center for many years already operationally. And so there was definitely already like trust between each other. And at the same time, I showed a lot of ambition. And I showed a lot of ambition doing it in the country that he was originally from. And yeah, that was just the right suggestion at the right time. And Mato gave me full trust. And basically in September 2006, so almost 20 years ago, I
Wow.
packed all my belongings, put it in a car, and I drove down to Split, where Mato already had one business here, which was a software development business. And the guys that were already based here in Split, his Croatian colleagues, they helped me a little bit with finding an apartment, and they gave me a desk in their office. And that's
Right.
how it started. That's from there I started writing my final thesis, and I started reaching out to potential clients for the contact center. And fast forward, by the time that I graduated, we had 2 clients in the call center and some 35 employees.
Wow. And when you arrived in Croatia, what were like the biggest differences you noticed from a business perspective or just a professional perspective compared to the Netherlands?
Well, I cannot say that I had a long lasting career in the Netherlands. So it's
Right.
hard for me to compare the Dutch way of doing business with the Croatian way of doing business. But I mean, obviously, I have my opinion about it. In even though in Croatia most people are Catholic, and I was also raised Catholic in the Netherlands, so there's some
Uh-huh.
cultural similarities there. There are also plenty of differences, and especially in the way that they're doing business. Companies in the Netherlands are, in general, organized in such a way that these are rather flat organizations. So even the cleaning lady needs to have her say and share her opinion in making company decisions, basically, in the Netherlands.
Yeah,
And
very
in
familiar.
Croatia, the only one that makes a decision is the owner. And it's very top down managed with strong hierarchies. At least that was the
Uh-huh.
case 20 years ago.
Right.
I'm quite sure that Croatia has also seen a lot of change over the past 20 years where they have adapted perhaps more modern style of management of companies. But back then it was definitely strong hierarchies. The director was being addressed by calling him director. So not by first name basis, but like director if you wanted to ask him something. So a lot
Uh-huh.
of respect for seniority. And then on top of that, I mean, Dutch people, of course, we like to operate very efficiently. You know, we like to schedule a meeting. We definitely need to show up on time for meetings. Then when we are in the meeting, there is not a lot of time spent on small talk, and we cut straight through all the BS, and we start talking about business and how we can help each other and how we can benefit from collaboration together. And that's how a meeting is done in the Netherlands. While in
Yeah.
Croatia, I mean, my biggest deals I made in a coffee bar, meeting with the director, sales director of large telecom companies in a coffee bar in a shopping mall where we were discussing my company as a call center back then to sell their products and services over the phone. Yeah, like I said, at that moment, my biggest deal was signed in a coffee bar, which is perhaps unthinkable for Dutch businessmen and
Yeah,
women.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. You went there as a student, so that was your baseline as an entrepreneur, as a starting businessman to start with. Did you later, coming back to the Netherlands or visiting the Netherlands, have some sort of reverse culture shock where you were being used to people calling you a director, and there's a guy like, hey, Jan, more this more flattened, structured approach? Did that shock you going back, or how was that?
Now, of course, I managed my business in Croatia much more in a Dutch way. So when somebody would call me like, "Hey, director," or "Hey, boss," literally happened, you know, then I would always correct them right away. Like, please just call me Jan. I'm
Ah,
just one of the colleagues here in the company. Okay, I happen to be the founder and owner of this company, but you can just call me Jan, you know, just like you would address anyone else in the company.
right,
But
right.
I can't really say that I had these kind of real culture shocks. I think it also helps that when I moved and when I was going back and forth, I was really quite young, and you're very adaptable to all those new environments that you're working in. I think it would be a lot more difficult had I moved by the time that I was like 50. You know, if
Right.
I had a whole career in the Netherlands, like I've worked in the Netherlands for 30 years, I'm 50 years old, and then I start doing something in Croatia, I don't think I would be able to understand the way people think and the way they work, and I don't think I would have been as successful as I have been
Right, right.
in my younger years. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because what's something that Western European entrepreneurs, maybe a little bit older, like you say, 40, 50 years old, already a bit bogged down by their own system. What do they often misunderstand about doing business in Croatia or maybe the wider Adriatic region?
Yeah, well, I, for example, feel that a lot of people here in this country are not so ambitious, and in the Netherlands, we want to work with ambitious people. We want to work with people that are really motivated and that are willing to put in the extra time if needed. And in Croatia, I mean, in some countries we live to work, and in some countries we work to live. And Croatia is definitely a country where we work to live, and not the other way around. And you know, also I've had this myself as well. I've experienced it myself that people would really just show up really late for meetings, or they would not show up at all. I once drove from Split to Zagreb, which was 400 kilometers, for a meeting that I had planned at 9 in the morning. So I left home at 5 in the morning to be in Zagreb at 9 in the morning. And by the time that I arrived, I got a phone call from the person that I was supposed to meet, who apologized and said, "I'm really sorry, but I have an unexpected board meeting. Can we move the meeting to next week?" Yeah, then you drove to Zagreb for no reason. of
Yeah.
course, I was also frustrated with what happened. But again, being young, being super ambitious, just relentless in what you wanted to achieve, you just ignore it. You see it through the fingers. You keep pushing, and you drove back to Zagreb the week after. What can you do?
Yeah.
You wanted that client, so whatever it takes.
Yeah, yeah, gotcha. Let's take a jump from we're now looking at the 22-year-old Jan starting out. Let's fast forward. What is it? More than 20 years, almost
Yeah,
20 years,
almost 20
almost 20
years.
years, and look at what you've done in the meantime. Like you've successfully exited 2 businesses.
Yeah,
You built them from scratch to scaling them to large companies. And both of those businesses they became eventually much larger than when you were starting out. And looking back, was there a point where the way you had been operating simply stopped working? And what was like the biggest scaling bottleneck that you ran into as you were scaling these businesses?
good question. Well, when I look at myself as an entrepreneur, I think it's very important that you understand what am I good at, and what are the things that I'm perhaps also not good at. And one thing that I feel that I'm very good at is I mean, aside from working with people and just day-to-day communication with people and putting the right people at the right place, but I'm very good at starting things, initiating things, and then
Uh-huh.
finding the right people to help me to make that grow. But I'm not a good manager. So for me, if I want to build a bigger business that needs to be properly managed, then it should not be done by me, the management part. So for that, I always look for really great people that are perhaps not entrepreneurs, but they're really great managers. And and up until now, I've managed to do that successfully several times. But I
Uh-huh.
also feel that there's a moment when companies become at a certain size that anything beyond that, I'm it's maybe not for me. It has nothing to do anymore with starting up things and initiating things, which is the part that I'm good at, but it's also the part that I enjoy doing the most.
Yeah.
I don't get a lot of, it sounds really strange, but I don't get a lot of energy from simply owning a big profitable company. It makes me very boring. I mean, bored. It makes me very bored. I become like this person without any inspiration, and I feel like this is such a smooth sailing that this company pretty much doesn't need me anymore because it is well managed by other people, and it's not getting the best out of me anymore. And then
Right.
when I feel that that's where I'm at with the company, and if I have an opportunity to close that chapter, of course, preferably by exiting the company under good terms, then then it's the right time for me to sell it, to take money off the table, and to let someone else continue from that point onwards. Because I mean, I built, for example, the call center from 0 to 400 people. Then I exited the company, and the new owners, after doing a whole bunch of M&A, they managed to continue building this company from 400 people to 15,000 people. And then
Right.
sometimes people ask me like, well, do you feel that you have exited the business too early? And I think to myself, no, because I would for sure not have been the person that is going to bring this company from 400 people to 15,000 people.
Right.
That's
Different
not
skill
me.
set.
Yeah, it's different skill set. And it's good that you recognize what you're able to do and what you're perhaps not able to do or interested in. And also with this company Web Power, which I founded after my exit from M Plus,
Uh-huh.
I remember that when I started Web Power, the energy that I felt and the motivation that I felt was almost again like I was 22. And then with so much passion and energy, you're starting this new company. And of course, the beginning is always hard. First 4 years, we were either losing money or on a small plus, small profits. And then year 6, year 7 gets better, it gets actually quite nice. Then year 8 is really great, great profits. Year 9, fantastic. Yeah, and then I start feeling myself again very lazy and
Yeah.
not so motivated to. I don't have then the motivation or inspiration to double this company one more time. When it's already running nice and smooth and it can run without me. So yeah, then again, I got an offer, a great offer to sell it, and I took it. And now I'm starting a new company again. And the amount of energy that I have and interest in and putting time in the new business, yeah, that's something I haven't felt for past 2 years, just because it was smooth sailing with the other
Yeah.
business.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I think the thing that you like so much about the starting phase, sort of the thing that you're good at, is what a lot of entrepreneurs will recognize. I know people who have a successful business, they've been doing it for quite a long time. It's very profitable. They're probably scared of letting go of it because what are they going to do then? And
yeah,
are they going to risk something that they shouldn't have risked? What would you say to other entrepreneurs that are maybe at that phase that you described, where you've built the business with the skill set that you're good at, starting
Mhm.
things, opening new doors, seeing things that others can't see that are not there yet, and just
Yeah.
making them happen, but then you've gone past that point, you've gone through a certain amount of employees or profit and revenue. What would you say to people like that that are in that situation and start to get a bit bored, a bit,
Yeah.
tired of doing the same thing all over again?
Yeah. Well, for example, in both scenarios, when I made my exit, you of course know that the exit is coming. This is something that you're working on for months, sometimes even like a year or even 2 years on doing the due diligence and getting your company ready to be sold. And it always happens to me, or each time it happened to me, that towards the end, let's say maybe 3, 4 months before you actually plan to make the exit, I think by myself, oh my God, what am I going to do next?
Yeah,
I have no idea yet what is the next thing that I'm going to do. And I'm also then wondering, like, is the next thing that I'm going to be doing, is it possible to make it equally big or even bigger, Or is the biggest thing that I've built, is it already behind me? Am I ever going to build something bigger? So you have a lot of these
right.
questions and also doubts, is it really smart to sell this business? Because, it's in the end, the business is there to make money for you, and if it makes good money for you every month, then why to sell it, even if it's boring and it doesn't get the best out of you as an entrepreneur. But I uh, I find it fascinating that each time after I put my signature on the term sheet and I sell the business, that very soon after that I'm full with new ideas and full with inspiration, and I really get so much energy from starting things all over again from scratch. And I also know that this is often the hardest thing to do, because the first couple of years in any new business is
Mm,
always the hardest part.
right, right.
But that's the thing that excites me the most, to start it, to create something out of nothing, to build it, to involve people, and to see it grow. Yeah, I think that, but I don't think actually that a lot of entrepreneurs are having fear or that they're trying to avoid starting new things. I mean, this is almost like within our DNA to do that.
Well, were you
If
more afraid of losing that, or more afraid, especially maybe the first time, like, am I a one-hit wonder? Am I able to do it again?
Yeah. Well, the first time that I sold my business, I definitely had those feelings, because I was 17 years old when I started working in a call center, and I made my exit when I was 31 years old. So that means like 14 years, like almost your entire adulthood, I was working in call center business, and I didn't necessarily look at myself as an entrepreneur. I really looked at myself as someone that simply was very good at starting and running and building contact centers.
Yeah, yeah.
So then when you exit that business, of course you have doubts. Am I able to do anything else other than starting call centers? And can I make those companies equally beautiful? But yeah, I think very soon after I sold that business, I discovered that I am really an entrepreneur, and doesn't mean that I can only do the things that I understand. There's the
Right.
company that I started afterwards was an email marketing company. So we were specialized in helping our clients sending newsletters. But I was not an email marketing expert before I started that company. Even towards the end, I I can't say for myself that I was an email marketing expert. But I was owning I founded and I was the majority shareholder of a company that was a market leader in that sector in our region. But if you surround yourself once again with the right people that are email marketing experts and good managers, then this is how you can also grow your business.
Yeah. Yeah. And now you've done it for the third, or you're doing it for the third time.
Now, I have done many things in between also, just not everything I exit from. Some things also don't
Right.
work out. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
I've
Yeah. Yeah.
started other businesses too. But now, yeah, after the second exit, now I'm again starting a company, which is then it's a staffing agency where we help up until now mostly Dutch companies. We're helping them to get access to remote talent from Croatia, mostly, of course, people with technical skills like developers and designers.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What opportunity do you think international companies are missing when they overlook talent from the Adriatic region,
Well, I mean, the
like Dutch
problem that we're
companies
trying
or?
to solve for our clients is that in markets like the Netherlands, there's a rather low unemployment. So the good people that you want to attract to your company are already having very often well-paid jobs, especially
Uh,
developers and designers. So if you want to attract senior people, then obviously you need to have quite big budgets for attracting such talent in the Netherlands. It's a very competitive market. And then in Croatia, the good people, the talented people, the seniors, they're also having already great jobs, but there is a bit of arbitrage on the salaries. So the salaries in our region are obviously lower than those in the Netherlands, of those in the
right.
Netherlands. And there is enough room for me, for Team Adria as a company, to offer cost savings to Dutch companies, to offer an improved great salary to local talent in Croatia, and for us as a company to have a margin in between.
Uh,
So that's what we do. And on top of that, we are trying to also solve other challenges that Croatia has, which are mostly demographic challenges, because we have seen a tremendous brain drain over the past 20 years. More than 500,000 people have left Croatia, which are, of course, mostly young and talented people that are leaving to countries in order to find opportunities over there. What I'm trying to do is to stop or slow down the brain drain, if I can, by not sending people abroad for those opportunities, but to bring those opportunities, obviously remote opportunities, to bring
uh,
those opportunities to Croatia. And then it's for me, it's a fantastic feeling that if I'm able to do that at scale, then I'm able to provide really great paying jobs, very often similar to like Dutch salaries, to bring those kind of jobs to Croatia that can really enable families to live good lives in Croatia without them having to leave the place where they're from. Because,
uh,
like I said, these jobs are fully remote. It's not that they are only being offered in the capital of this country. If you
yeah.
happen to live in a small village in northeastern part of Croatia, you can also do this job.
It sounds very good. Like you already described in the beginning, how there's probably a bit better work-life balance in Croatia compared to the Netherlands.
Yeah,
And if you have that, and you might have good income opportunities and remotely, that sounds like a good life.
yeah, I think so too. I think that the people that are working now for Team Adria, that are working directly for Dutch companies, I think that every single individual is probably in top 5% of this country in terms of
Right.
what people have as an income and the lifestyle that they can therefore afford themselves in this country.
Yeah. You can be the king in your village or,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I'd like to move towards different topic. I was wondering, after everything you've learned from building businesses in Croatia, what advice would you give to like an ambitious 22-year-old who's starting out now and maybe wants to take a more unconventional path, like for example you did when you were young, instead of following the obvious path? What would you
Mhm.
advise them to do?
Yeah, well, I of course I speak with many younger people, also a lot of people that want to start their own businesses, and very often they are not certain on what they want to do, what kind of business to start. They only know that they want to start a business. And in my case, being Dutch but living in Croatia, what I've actually been doing with most of the business that I started is I looked with one eye into what is working in the Netherlands, what is working really well in the Netherlands, what are the kind of companies that are growing, that are getting a lot of clients, that are employing a lot of people, that are successful in the Netherlands. And at the same time, I'm looking at whether there are any similar companies doing similar stuff in Croatia. And then you can sometimes identify opportunities like I have done before. Because when I came to Croatia, there were pretty much no contact centers at all. The only, my biggest competitors that I had when I was opening up my contact center were the in-house contact centers of my potential clients.
Ah,
So my potential client was, for example, a large telecom company, and they had their in-house contact center with like 500 people. And I met with those telcos to suggest to them, why don't you outsource that? We can do it better, we can do it cheaper, we can do it more efficient, etc., because we are specialized in this. We this is our core business. And then over time, more and more companies, they started, let's say, offloading staff in their own in-house contact centers, and they started outsourcing those business processes. So that
right.
was an opportunity. It was a market that was huge in the Netherlands. It was a market that was very saturated in the Netherlands. There were really large players employing hundreds, sometimes even thousands of people in the Netherlands. And in Croatia, it didn't exist in this way. And the same also with email marketing. In the Netherlands, there were at least 10, 15 companies that had developed their own software for email marketing. And in Croatia, everybody was using American tools. And there were
Yeah.
no local providers in Croatia that were simply specialized in this one channel called email marketing. And that's when I thought, okay, if this market in the Netherlands is big enough to offer space for 10, 15 companies who each of them can employ anywhere between 10 and 100 people. So there's a lot of people working in this industry. And if in
Yeah.
Croatia there's no local employment and no local company in this industry at all serving Croatian companies, then perhaps this is an opportunity that I need to jump into. And the opportunity for me was to offer a local product as a local company with local Croatian email marketing expert serving local companies. So switching them from American products to a Croatian product, basically, or to a Croatian service provider. Yeah, and that ended up also being very successful. Also, again, because we were the first one. And what you very often see when you are in a certain country, especially if you're abroad, because you're more opening yourself to actually listening to people around you, is that you hear a lot of people complain about certain things. But we also need to understand that each thing that people are complaining about is possibly a problem that needs to be solved by an entrepreneur by offering the right product or service to solve that problem. Because entrepreneurship is nothing else other than solving someone else's problem. And if you are able to solve a very big problem, you can turn it into a very big company. So if you listen very carefully to your surrounding about what are problems that people are facing, if you can look with one eye into other markets to things that are working out very well in those markets and connect the dots and see that maybe in the market where you find yourself today, that it's either not being offered at all or it's not being offered at the right level, yeah, then you find yourself a business opportunity in that way. And then once you find it, you need to go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing advice. And I think it's very applicable to European countries where we can often replicate our bigger cousin, the United States, where there's a big unified market and we can find niches in our little European countries separately. So I
Yeah,
think that's a really, really great advice. And it's advice that you've been demonstrating over and over again. So
yeah.
uh,
I'm not
very
inventing
valid.
any hot water. I haven't invented anything. I'm just
Right.
I find something that works in the Netherlands. I do it in a country where it's not being offered yet. Of course, I localize it because every market is different. So you cannot
Yeah, of
just copy it one on one. You need to localize the service or the product.
course.
But
Yeah.
yeah, this led to two beautiful companies and two beautiful exits.
And a beautiful life for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Super happy here in Croatia.
Right. I have actually about that one bonus question for you. You are a well-known person in Croatia as a business person, as an influential person within the community and in the country. But your wife is also a very famous social media influencer in Croatia, right? Who's more recognizable on the streets today if you guys go out? Is it you or your wife?
Depends on where we are. If
Yeah.
we are at a business conference, then probably me.
Uh-huh.
And if we are just on the streets or anywhere in public, then more often my wife. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
my wife has a lot of followers. Among those followers, there are a lot of women, even like young kids or young adult. No, not young kids, but like older kids or young adults. So yeah, when we are going to the cinema, it would not be. It's not strange that one of those kids that is also over there, or a parent, that they would want to have a photo with my wife,
Right.
and they don't know who I am. But if
Right.
if I'm at a business conference with hundreds or even thousands of people, then it happens very often that I would, for example, introduce myself to someone, and they go like, "Oh yeah, but I know who you are. I've been following you on LinkedIn, and by the way, great job. Keep on going. So
Yeah.
it really depends on in which environment do we find ourselves. The best thing is that, and it's something that I really appreciate a lot, is that the feedback that we're getting is overall mostly positive. People are really positive towards the things that we do, the things that we say, the things that we stand for.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I think you as a person have a very positive energy as well. So I imagine you bring that to the companies you start, to the people you interact with, your
Yeah,
employees,
I'm
your
in
team.
general optimistic about the future. A lot of people are now very scared about how AI is going to change everything and how we're going to lose all those jobs. And my thinking is, and ironically, I start a staffing agency in the middle of that. So I
Hmm.
I start a company that needs to find talent for companies. And my thinking is like, yeah, okay, of course, AI is probably going to change really a lot, and I'm using it with great pleasure myself as well. But at the same time, I believe that this world will always need great, talented, and motivated people. Doesn't matter what kind of technology we have in place. We will always need great people. So if we focus on that, then there's not so much to be afraid of.
Yeah. Well, I'm 100% sure this is going to be a success again. And even though we're going towards AI and automation and everything, and I'm looking forward to follow your journey. I'll keep following you, and excited to see how you're gonna exit this company and then up to the next, and
In
what
5 or
what
10
the
years
future
from now, we
brings.
will see.
Yeah, let's see. Well, thank you so much, Jan, for your time first of all, and for sharing your experience and your wisdom regarding business, regarding scaling, and everything you've done so far.
Thanks
So
so much
thanks a
for
lot.
inviting me.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, people, if you want to follow Jan, we'll put a link in the description of wherever you're watching or listening to this. And you can check out Jan on LinkedIn or follow his company also, Team Adria. Thanks, Jan.
Thank you.